Okay, so let's begin here. Raising up onto the balls of our feet, rocking back onto the heels. Inversion, eversion. Knees up, heels up, hips stay in place. Feet together. Figure 8 pattern or infinity sign going through the knees. And switch directions on that. Now, in to out, so internal, external rotation, opening and closing the hip. And other side. Now kick back, pull up around and over. Other side. Hip circles or hula hoops. Switch directions. Now, hip circles, belly dancers. Other direction. Now, right around the sternum. Switch directions. Roll the neck. Switch directions. Spinal waves. If you need to use a wall for these, it's totally okay. Just trying to touch nose, chin, chest, hips, cycling through. Switch directions. So now it goes opposite, right? We start from the bottom and finish at the top. Arm circles, other direction, and wrist and elbows, switch directions. Okay, for our dynamic stretches, I want to get to the wall. I keep the heel down, the lead leg, and I pulse forward, right? Taking my knee past the toes. Switch legs. Remember, it's one a gentle stretch. It shouldn't be super deep. With all of these, you might have more range of motion than me or less. Don't force it. Now, my lateral leg swing. My toes point up. I try to track my foot with my eyes. And usually a good number here, 6 to 8. Now we kick back, but you can do up to 15 or 20. The main focus though is don't fatigue the muscles through doing this. This is a nice warm up If your goal is more mobility, you might want to do 2 sets per day of 10 to 15, maybe up to 20 reps of these. You can't overdo them, so don't get overzealous. Now, front to back. I like the arm swing opposite on this one. And other. Now, our lunge, but I want to get out towards the end, right? And just bounce. Right? You keep your hands out to the side or whatever. I'm not trying to make this super strenuous. Just get into that lunge, moving, and then we switch. Now, feet about shoulder width. Reach back and up. Hinge, reach forward. Now we get big circles here. So as I reach around, look, I'm in extension in the spine. I flex forward. Pay attention to your back here. Obviously, don't jam anything up. Respect your range of motion. Other direction. Now, return toes in, translation, lateral flexion. Feet about shoulder width, knee to elbow, elbow to knee. Now, up and down with the neck, we're saying yes. Left to right, we're saying no. Ear to shoulder. All right. Thumbs back. Pulsing. Crisscross arm swings. Vertical arm swings. Gravity squat. This is an advanced motion, so I always recommend you do these with caution. Maybe you want to have a spotter, definitely want to use a wall. Don't do these if you don't have good proprioception, good balance. There's no rush to get into this stuff. But this exercise is a preliminary exercise to be able to eventually squat on the wall. By no means is this necessary for fitness too, so don't get carried away. Don't hurt yourself. Don't ever put yourself at risk to do an exercise, right? It's not a stunt. It does work your proprioception, but we don't ever want to get injured doing exercise. So I put my hands on the ball, right? Then I put my knees on the ball, and then let the ball roll forward, and I can use my hands to kind of steer that. Notice how my knees are a little bit outside the hip width, and what I want to try to do is straighten the body, tuck the tail, head back, chin in. Some people like to take dumbbells when they do this and do curls or do presses or lateral raises. I mean, like, I'm not going to knock it, but just doing this and developing that proprioception, right? Because the ball's able to move, it can go right off underneath of you. And that's why I always suggest it's really good if you have somebody you can hold their hands while you're doing this, right? Have somebody spot you. Then just kind of do it against the wall, because you can still slip and the ball can shoot out right by the wall. And there again, if you don't feel comfortable, just simply don't do this. But basically what we try to do is hold for about 30 seconds to a minute, and then we come down and just come right off the ball onto my feet. Just so you know, if you are doing this and it kind of like kicks out from underneath of you, you want to try to sit onto it. Always, like I said, be very careful, make sure the surroundings are open. You don't have something, if you did fall, you bust your head on, like, right? So just be smart when you do it, and don't do it if you don't feel comfortable doing it. So when we do the sumo squat, you go with a wide stance. Now, that's going to be different for everybody, but make sure you're not feeling like a hard pull on the inner thighs, right? My toes can point out slightly, but as I squat down, I want my torso to be upright. I don't want to be falling down. So if you notice, because of the thighs, you may find this might be the sumo squat for you, right? This is still a wider than typically normal squats. And so whenever you get wider, that's the sumo squat. And then the motion, I'm trying to still get my thighs down to parallel, but I'm also trying to keep the chest up. So there'll probably be a slight arch in the lower back. And there again, these could be weighted, right? We could hold a weight here, we could hold weights to the inside, could be a barbell on the back. So for the stability ball pike push-up, you could also put your feet up on a bench, a chair, something sturdy. You could walk your hands underneath of it so that your hands are aligned with your shoulders, aligned with your hips, and then the legs are bent. The stability ball, it allows me to add some proprioception to it. So it's totally fine to use a stable platform. And what I mean by that is if your feet are on the stable platform, you would walk, this isn't the best way to demonstrate because I'm on a ball, you would walk yourself underneath. But if you can, on the stability ball, we would go like this. And then I would come up into my pike position, right? I do my push-up, and I might do these just for repetitions, or I might cycle through each time, piking up, as such. And the range of motion might be partial, maybe it's just to the pike with no push-up. There again, scale it to fit you. Okay, so for this back extension, you could use elastic bands out here in front of you. You could use a cable machine. You could use it unilaterally or both at the same time. But what we're going to do is come up in a full back extension, and basically while holding that back extension, it's like I'm doing pull-ups. Like I said, if I can hold on, grabbing an elastic band, doesn't have to be super heavy, or a cable machine, I could also add resistance, but just doing this is very similar to a pull-up pattern. And you might find you have to do that repetitiously, like you can't hold the isometric contraction that long, so you do a rep, go down, do a rep, go down, and you can add resistance, elastic band, cable, whatever you got there. Okay, this is a very precise movement. I want to make sure my feet and legs aren't touching, but they're separated. I want my chin tucked in. I want my shoulders remain on the ground. I cross my arms, my elbows pointed up. And I try to take my knees straight up. This isn't a reverse crunch. And I don't jump my legs up. I slowly try to push my hips out of the sockets, trying to push my tailbone up towards the ceiling. Chin's tucked in. If you want, you can pull those toes up towards the knees, and you do this repetitiously, usually high reps, build it up to 20, 30%. If you can get to the point that you can do 100 of these nice and steady like this, and I'm talking, but normally the breath looks like this. Very good for the lower back, very good for the abdominals beneath the belly button. Okay, so for these postures, we're going to be lying on our back. On the first one, if it's too much, just be careful, don't stress your neck, right? But what I do is I want to be able to be on my shoulder blades. For some people, this is enough, and you might get a stretch on your back. As you start to straighten your legs, you might feel your hamstrings. If you can, we try to interlace our fingers, straighten our arms, get our straight legs, toes to the floor, and hold. But there again, like I said, don't force this. And my weight, it's my head. There's a minimal weight. There's no pressure on my neck. If there's pressure on your neck, slowly back out of this. Now, we roll down, and I pull, right, my right leg across with my left hand, my right hand grabs my left foot, and then I try to rotate, trying to look towards my right, get my right shoulder to the ground. It's one of my favorite stretches. When I first saw this, it was called the Bretzel, named after the guy, I guess the guy who invented it or popularized it. I mean, I don't know if he really invented it, I have no clue. But I think his first name was Brett, so they call it something the pretzel, the Bretzel. I love this stretch ever since I learned it. I use it, you can kind of play with it where you work more on the extension of the hip, or you pull more on your foot, stretching more of the quad and the hip flexor. You can really work on rotating the neck while keeping the chin in, and that stretches the neck muscles. It's also great for the thoracic spine, right all around the ribs. Release, grab, get this grip. By all means, this little sequence is also nice stretches that we're doing that you can hold a little longer than some require, like they have like muscular tension involved on the antagonistic side. These are really nice passive stretches that tend to just feel nice to hold for extended periods. So if you want to go longer, by all means, go for it. And release. Okay, so L5S1 I think is probably one of the best L-DOA postures everybody can learn. There's a little baseboard here. When I'm doing it on my own, I normally wouldn't do this. I'll use a door or a refrigerator. My whole apartment's got baseboards. But what you want to do is have a totally flat surface. You can sit into the wall and put your legs up. But you can also just scoot in, but that's a way that helps people if they're having a hard time scooting in. I put my feet outside of hip width, but within shoulder width, and I try to do pseudo inversion, which means my big toes come towards me, my little toes push up. And if your tailbone's not touching the ground, you need to bend your legs so it can. If your tailbone can touch the ground with straight legs, that's fine, but the tailbone pushing into the floor is where the magic happens, so you have to feel that connection. You're also trying to push your sit bones in towards the wall. So if you can do this, you rotate at the hip, your toes towards each other, but look, they shouldn't touch. They're getting close, but they don't touch. My chin's tucked in, my eyes are looking down, my tailbone's pushing into the floor. I put my hands up in front of me, put my fingers back towards my face. I rotate around, I push one arm overhead and the other. I try to bring my wrists close together, but I don't let my fingers touch the ground. I keep them right off the ground. I push through my palms, pulling my fingers back towards the wall. I push my tailbone down into the ground. I try to push through my heels while pushing my tailbone down. My chin's tucked in, my eyes are looking down in between my legs, and I'm trying to create length out the back of my neck, pushing my ribs away from the wall, trying to follow the lead of my hands, but all the while pushing my tailbone into the ground. Once you get to about a minute, you release the tension, lower down, and you can just sit here. If you want to have your cell phone by, I always tell people, you can put your cell phone here. Don't put it here, you can drop it on your face. Put it down here, and you're essentially in a deep squat, and you can hang out here for 10, 15 minutes, maybe alternating with straightening and bending your legs. It's excellent for the lower back.